off topic from the questions, but it's something I think needs to be said and isn't said enough in the pickup community. Okay, and that is that the sex needs to be a win for the girl. Okay, sex needs to be a win. Now, what does that mean? If you go in and you're very obvious and you're like, I'm hitting on you, I want something from you, and then she's like, no, okay, fine, I'm turned on, okay, fine, I'll go, okay, fine, it's easier not to, okay, fine, okay, yeah, okay, you can fuck me, sure, right? There's a situation where you were pushing and pushing and pushing, and she finally gave in. How does she usually feel about that? Does she feel like she won, or does she feel like you won and she lost? Right? She feels like you won and she lost. That's not very good for her. Now, that can work. That can work. And that's actually the phase that most guys go through. Most guys go through that phase, right? What happens is you come into game as a beginner, at least if you do the trajectory I have, or the trajectory that most guys who find the pickup community have had. You come into the game as a beginner, and what you were doing has zero chance of getting you laid because you're not taking enough risk. You're not putting enough out there. Either A, you're not approaching girls. B, when you get in the set, you're never making a man-to-woman move. You're just having like the platonic conversation to nowhere and not giving it any chance to go anywhere. Or C, you get these weak numbers, a couple of them flake on you, it hurts that they flaked on you, and you stop following up, right? That's what beginner looks like. And if you're a true beginner in game, like really at that level, it's like almost impossible for you to get laid, right? Not down the line you absolutely can, but by doing those behaviors of not taking enough risk, it's very hard to get laid. And you'll get a lot of girls that will like, they'll after at the end of the set, they'll be like, oh, it was nice talking to you. Oh, take care. It's so nice. Thank you. Right? They'll be thanking you they'll be, thank you for talking to me. Bye. Right? If you ever get thanked for the interaction, if you get thanked for a pickup, you did something really wrong. Okay? If that ever happens, like take a long, hard look in the mirror. So that's like the beginner level. And then what happens is, at some point you snap. At some point you've heard it was nice to meet you so many times that you're like, if a girl fucking says it was nice to meet me one more goddamn time, I swear to God I will fucking go on a murdering rampage. It's just like fucking, it's really bad, okay? And so at that point, it hurts more to hear it was nice to meet you. It hurts more to not take the risk and know that you gave up on yourself than it hurts to get a rejection. And then you start making real moves. Then you start doing things that could get you laid. You start actually getting physical with girls. You start actually showing intent. When the girl says, you're like, hey, let's leave, and she's like, no, you're like, come on, let's leave, and you try something ballsy. And half the time it works, and half the time she like gets really angry. But you're actually trying something. And it's funny, because now all of a sudden you're occasionally getting laid. But you're also getting much more negative reactions occasionally than you were getting when you're a newbie. And so it's frustrating, because a lot of your reactions have gotten more negative, but at the same time, you're getting some really positive reactions. But at this intermediate stage, what's happening is you've become the intent man, but you've become pushy, right? You've become the guy who's showing intent, and essentially like, it's like highly effective begging is what it is. You're like, please have sex with me, and then like you back it up with, I'm cool. Please have sex with me, it feels good when I touch you. Please have sex with me, I'm funny, right? But the inherent frame is, please have sex with me. And you're like that like really pushy salesman that like the person knows they're being sold to, and they know that like you have an agenda, but at the same time your product's really fucking good. So you're like, fuck it, I guess I'll buy from this guy. God damn it. I really wish I could buy from somebody else, but god damn it, his product's good. All right, I'll fucking buy the thing. I just wish he'd shut up and leave me alone. All right? Just shut up and fuck me already. Leave me the fuck alone. That's kind of what it's like at that intermediate stage. And then the advanced stage is when you take it to another level, which is where you start to actually be selective and screen and get the girl chasing a little bit. And that way, when the girl goes home with you, instead of her thinking, oh, fuck, I didn't want to fuck with him, and then I gave in, she's thinking, oh, yes, like, I won him over. This great guy, he didn't even like me at first. He didn't even want to have sex with me, and I won him over. Or like, oh, this guy was talking to those other girls, and I showed him I was amazing, and I got his attention. Right? That's when you're getting to that really advanced level, is when you flip the script and get the girl to chase. And that's what a ton of my game has been based on lately. Like probably the biggest lesson in the last basically year plus for me has been that. For a long time I thought the biggest lesson was how to structure a pull. And that is a huge part of it. It's exactly how to meticulously create a situation where when the girl likes you, she will go home with you. right? It's not this like, she likes me and let me like roll the dice and hope it happens, or she likes me, let me force and hear no 47 times before I get her there. It's she's actually going with you. So I thought that was the lesson. I realized recently the real lesson wasn't how to seed the pull, it's how to make it a win for her. How do you flip it around so that sex with you becomes a win? All right? I'll tell you kind of an interesting example of this, which is my job. Imagine your job was my job. Imagine that your job is essentially professional pickup artist, okay? And imagine that you told this to a girl before going out on a date with her. How do you think the girl would respond? Would she respond favorably or unfavorably? Trick question. Trick question. Both. Right? On one hand, she'll be really intrigued. She'll be oftentimes really fascinated and want to hear all about it. She'll talk about your job all the time. She'll give you all the attention. It'll almost seem like she's chasing you. But on the other hand, she will not fuck you. She will not fuck you. She has decided. She has resolutely put like the fucking chastity belt from like Robin Hood Men in Tights on. And she will not fuck you. Because the view on it is, if she fucks you, what is she? She's the next notch on your bedpost. Right? Next notch. She's like, oh, his pickup techniques worked on me. I was just the next victim. I was the next one that got tricked. Right? That's how she's oftentimes going to view it in that context. Right? In fact, this process of telling her like you're a professional pickup artist and then fucking the girl, as of about a year ago, me and Julian had a term for it. We called it checkmating God. Okay? That's how fucking difficult it is. All right? It's not easy. And why? Because the frame is set up in such a way that if she fucks you, it's a loss for her. It's a loss of value for her to have sex with you. What's the ultimate way to derive value from like a professional pickup artist? Here's the ultimate way to derive value. Hang out with him over and over and over again and waste his time, because then he's hanging out with you, not having sex, instead of having sex with some other girl. So basically, if that's the case, you minus sex is better than every other girl plus sex. That makes you the highest value girl on the planet. That's how you gain value from a pickup artist, right? That's how the girl's mind works. All right, so what'll she do? She'll make you take her on tons and tons of dates, jump through all her hoops, like spend all this time with her, and just not have sex. Just keep putting you off. Oh, we're just friends. Oh, that kind of stuff. It's fucking weird. All right? On the other hand, if a girl has sex with you and then finds out afterwards you're a professional pickup artist, then what? Now where's the validation? Now the validation is in keeping you. So this is a great frame, right? Now it's like, oh, he fucked all these different girls, but he stayed with me. So I am the hot girl. I am the girl that got him, right? So now that's a win for her. So now staying with you is a win, and so it makes it very, very easy to keep them around, right? But it's very interesting how the whole thing works, right? One kind of interesting story along these lines, in my online dating a couple years ago, I did an experiment where in my online profile I would put links to my RSD Nation videos. Just an experiment. I put like, I couched it as like, I'm a very selective guy, I get lots of girls, but I'm looking for something special. Anyway, here's some of my work. I know it's intimidating, but if you think you can handle it, whatever. Right? So I framed it in a decent way, got girls to come out on dates, etc. And I got this frame of like the checkmating God frame a little bit. There's one time in particular, I showed up for a date with this girl, and basically every single time I would try and like introduce a conversation topic or introduce a frame, she'd just like butt heads with me. She just wanted to argue with me about everything. Like I'd be like, yeah, I like, I love putting salt on my steak or whatever. She'd be like, actually, better than salt is She's like, why the fuck are you arguing with me about this? Right? Never mind, it's like a relationship frame or some other thing. She just fight me on every single. It's the most unpleasant conversation I've probably had in my entire life. It was like witty. Like she was very witty, like very sharp, but just like unpleasant conversation because she just wanted to fight me on everything. And I was like, this sucks, I'm gonna leave. But I was like, okay, fine, we'll just play it out and follow the protocol a little bit. And so I sort of screened like, oh yeah, do you wanna grab another drink before I go or something? She's like, yeah, totally. She's like really excited. I'm like, what the fuck? What's going on here? Like she's like fighting me on everything. It's totally unpleasant, but she wants to hang out with me more. So we have another drink and stays super unpleasant. And then I'm like, yeah, I'll probably like go for a little walk. You can join me if you want, and then I'll probably head home. She's like, yeah, I'd love to go for a walk with you. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here, right? And then we start talking. I bring up the subject of chess. I don't know how or why. She's like, oh, I have a chessboard in my apartment. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. She's like, yeah, I'll beat you. I'm like, yeah, okay, sure, whatever, right? And so she's basically like pulling me home to play chess. Meanwhile, the whole time the conversation is like, what the fuck is going on here? Over the course of that last part, as we're walking home, the conversation started to get a little bit better. Then she invites me up to her room, and we play chess, and she's utterly, egregiously terrible at it, and I wipe her off the board like, it's just stupid. But the whole time I'm like flirting with her and teasing her, and like the sexual vibe is actually building. I'm like, okay, this is good. All I have to do is like put in my time. I've been here before. I'm gonna get laid. This is great. Then after the second game of chess, she goes, okay, chess is over, time to leave. I'm like, what the fuck? What's going on here? So I'm like, what? And she like hops up, runs over to the door, opens the door, and says, yep, gotta go. I'm like, this is new. So then I stand up slowly and walk over to her and kind of like look her in the eye. I'm like, I have to tell you, you are one of the most unusual people that I've ever been on a date with. And I've been on lots of dates. So congratulations. And she goes, yeah, cut the chatter. Here's a big challenge, big boy. Think you can make me close this door? And so I'm like, you know what, look, if you like me and want to hang out, that's totally cool. If you don't like me, I'm not one to like, force anyone to try and like me, whatever. And she's like, she pauses for a second, looks at me, and she goes, all right, I'll tell you what. I'll let you fuck me if you put me in one of your videos. And I was like, this is a turning point for me because my job has kept me from getting laid so many times. It was the first time it actually got me laid. This one, I just mentioned her. No, actually my response to that, I actually hesitated, right? I hesitated and sat there. And I was like, but in the video, do you mean you actually want to, like, do I have to feature you or can I just like vaguely refer to you? And she's like, shut the fuck up, closes the door and just jumps on me. So that was my checkmating God story right there.
You've never learned.
Huh?
So you didn't learn the video.
No, she has not been. No, she's not been in. No, her face has not occurred in a video. I think I have mentioned this story vaguely a couple times. But yeah. In any case, it's all about the frame. It's all about, is it a win for her? Is it not a win for her? Right? And again, the whole night it was not a win for her, not a win for her, not a win for her. But then she found out a way that she could win. Right? She found out a way that she wanted it, she liked me, she was turned on, found out a way to make it a win. As soon as it could be couched as I had given in, as soon as it was like, oh, I give up, you win this one little battle, all of a sudden, sex. Right? But it's very, very important that you let it be a win for the girl. It's very important. Her validation, a girl's validation is very, very critical to her. Right? Look at like an evolutionary tribe. Basically a girl can't survive without the tribe. And certainly if she gets pregnant, she cannot bring a child into the world without the tribe. Imagine like a pregnant woman on the savannah trying to survive. It's just ludicrous. So she needs the validation and acceptance and support of those around her as literally a survival tool. So her view of herself socially and others' view of her socially is literally a matter of life and death. That's why girls are, you could argue, more socially attuned than us, is because it matters more. And that's why they are so much more emotional and so much more reactive than us. It's in their evolution. It's in their genetics. They need that in order for them to survive. Okay? Cool. So let's take that whole idea of the vibe and letting it be a win and all that kind of stuff and your energy as a man, and let's look at the idea of flaking. And why do girls flake? What can you do to minimize flaking? I will never say eliminate flaking because I don't think anybody can do that. I don't think it's possible. A lot of girls flaking has to do not with you but with them. I've had sets where I spent hours and hours with the girl and had an amazing connection, amazing talk. The whole time, the whole premise is she wants to hang out with me tons and is like trying to find everything about me, is like fucking in love with me. And then afterwards doesn't return my call. I've had that. I've also had the like 10-second phone number where the girl like pursues you afterwards the next day and makes it the easiest thing in the world to hang out with you. So you can't really argue that had a lot to do with you. A lot of times it has to do with the girl and her circumstance, and there's certain things that are just outside of your control. So understand that when it comes to flaking. But do understand that the more that you do right, the better off you're gonna be, okay? So why do girls flake? There's a number of reasons girls will flake. Number one reason girls will flake, they didn't like you that much in the first place, right? A lot of times, if you have like okay game but not great game, you can sort of steamroll girls into giving you phone numbers. Right? I'm very, very good at this. Because when I first learned game, I had shitty game. I had like probably the worst game you'd ever seen. My version of game was go up, make a random obvious comment, and hope the girl replied and continued the conversation. And if she did, I'd continue a boring conversation until I could feel it losing its energy. I could feel it being about to end. At the moment when I felt it about to end, I'd be like, cool, it was nice talking to you, what's your number? And run off before it completely died, right? Or I would walk up and I'd make that random comment and she'd be like, no, I'm busy, can't talk to you. I'd be like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. It was nice talking to you, what's your number? And I'd close off of that, right? So the one thing I did, and credit to me that I did this, is I always opened, and by the way, always opened, I mean I always opened girls who seemed safe and by themselves and with no guys around or other girls in immediate vicinity, right? Because I didn't think groups were possible at all. But I did always open, and I always attempted to close. Even off of the worst set ever, I would attempt to close. I just like literally would repeat the phrase, it was nice talking to you, what's your number? That was it. That was my phrase. It was nice talking to you, what's your number? Every set ended with that. It's like, it was nice to meet you. Oh, it's nice to meet you too, what's your number? I have to go have a boyfriend. That's cool, it's nice talking to you, what's your number? Right? Why not? Nothing to lose, right? And I got a decent amount of numbers that way, and I got a shit ton of flakes that way, and I got a few dates. But I got so many numbers, because I did so many approaches, that I was probably going on an average of 1 to 2 dates per week, even when I was a total chode and a virgin, which is actually not bad. You're an 18-year-old virgin, and you're going on like, 1 to 2 dates a week with girls you consider hot. You're pretty happy. Right? Why? Just brute force of effort. That was it. But most of those girls flaked because my sets themselves sucked. Right? And they didn't even suck in the sense that the girl thought I was too cool and that didn't trust me. They sucked in the sense that like I sucked as a human being in that set. Right? I was boring and lame and just forcing it and just like grinding out a number out of nothing. Right? So if that's the case, that's the number one reason they're going to flake is you ran a bad set. Number two reason they're going to flake is you were not believable. You were not believable. I'll teach you guys something interesting. I'm learning, I'm always trying to learn new skills that are kind of related to game but outside of game, or just like skills from my own life. So one of the big things I'm trying to learn right now is I'm dabbling at like copywriting, internet marketing. Not because I want to do it as like a full-time career, but because so much of like what we do with RSD is online stuff. I want to have a good enough understanding that at least when I'm dealing with people, I can communicate in an intelligent way, I can hire good people, et cetera, right? So I'm trying to learn like at least the basics. And so the guy who's teaching me copywriting, he gave me this acronym, which is really good. He said, whenever you're looking at sales copy, and this is another, like you could look at it whenever you're looking at your game, if it's any of these things, it's bad, right? And he said that the acronym is CUBB. First is confusing. If it's confusing, it's bad. Right? If you're not being clear, it's bad. Right? You need to be clear about what's going on. Secondly, if it's unbelievable, it's bad. If you're saying something that they're just like full of shit, automatically bad. Okay? Next is boring. If it's boring, obvious, cliche, lame, that's bad. That goes immediately out. And the last is what he calls bad. If it's bad, it's bad, which is kind of like obvious. But what he means by bad is if it triggers like a bad emotion. If it makes them feel like it's their fault, it gives them an icky feeling. It gives them like a negative that makes them not want to continue the interaction for an emotional reason. Okay? So those are the 4 things you want to avoid. And it's actually very true that those are 4 things you'd want to avoid with a girl as well. Right? You don't want to be confused and wishy-washy in your intent. You don't want to be unclear about where you're going with her. You also, especially like say you're pulling a girl and she's like, where are we going? And you don't have a clear answer, pull's done. It's like, where are you going? Like, well, it's, we could maybe, goodbye. Over. Okay? You have to be clear. You have to be clear in your intention with her. You have to be clear about what your plan is. Next is you have to be a little bit believable. Right? How many people have been in pickup long enough to know what peacocking is? Raise your hands. What do you guys think about peacocking? Good or bad? We like it, we hate it. Okay, so I'm hearing a few good things, but a lot of like vaguely negative mutterings about it, okay? I'll tell you something, dude. At the stage where I learned peacocking on my game, peacocking was fucking brilliant. At the stage where I learned it. Because the stage where I learned it was a stage where I did not trigger a value reaction in the girls. I did not trigger a strong reaction. I would kind of go in and just be whoever I was naturally and hope that they normally like me, or hope that we hit upon a common topic enough that we could have a good conversation, and they'd go out with me as a friend, and then I could sort of like try and sneak my way in by like touching their elbow and like touching their shoulder and shit like that. So I wasn't triggering a value reaction. So for me, when I started peacocking, it made me polarizing. It made shit tests happen, right? I wasn't getting shit tests. I started peacocking, it gave me shit tests. It was great, right? And then you get to a certain level of game, and then at a certain level, most of the time when you fail, it's not because you don't have enough value. It's because you don't have enough comfort, or you don't have enough time with the girl, or your friends drag her away, or something like that. And so once you're at that level, peacocking doesn't really mean that much anymore, at least not extreme peacocking. Now, peacocking a little bit, like right here. This technically is peacocking. This serves no purpose. Serves no purpose whatsoever. It serves the purpose to make me slightly more douchey. That's literally why I have it on. When girls ask why do I have it, I tell them it makes me look more douchey. Right? I tell them that the reason I'm wearing it is because, and this is even a douchey answer. I said the reason why I'm wearing it is that whenever girls meet me, they always fucking want me to be like their boyfriend, and I'm trying to like this is like wearing a cross for a vampire. This is like telling the girl I am not boyfriend material. That's why I wear this, and so you know you can't have me. Okay, but that technically is peacocking. Right? That technically is peacocking. It's an unnecessary thing. It conveys a message, whatever. But I'm talking like the extreme crazy peacocking. The big problem with it was that it would get you lots of attraction. It would definitely make you stand out. Especially, the whole premise with peacocking is if you look like a cool guy in what you're doing and then you stand out, people notice you. Right? So if you walk in like wearing like, you know, crazy like clown suit shit, and you're like standing against the wall like insecure by yourself, you look like the world's biggest loser. You literally look like the biggest loser in the world. However, if you're in some crazy getup and there's girls all around you giggling and smiling and giving you indicators of interest, other girls are going to notice that, because they're gonna be like, what's that fucking, oh shit, the girls like him. What is this? I'm interested. What's going on over here? And they get drawn in. All right, so it actually can work in that sense. But the problem became, it's too outside of the girl's reality. It's too outside of the girl's reality. When the girl pictures in her mind, what is the boyfriend I want to date? Who is the guy I would like to like introduce to my parents? They don't see a guy in like, you know, fucking like all kinds of weird gothy shit, or like a clown suit, or like wearing rainbow color, you know, they don't see that, right? And so while they are attracted to it in the moment because they're responding to the social stimulus, they're responding to the fact that you can handle a shit test. They're responding to the fact that you have other girls reacting to you, or even other guys reacting to you possibly. They're responding to all that in the moment, but as soon as that moment lapses, as soon as you don't take them home that night and they get the phone number, and even if they have like good emotion, oh, that was so much fun, then you call them up for a date and they're like, do I want to go out on a date with a clown? Maybe not, right? Because it's not in their vision of what they see in their life. It's too outside of their reality. It's unbelievable to them. Even though it happened, if they were to look back on that night, it's an unbelievable event. Like, oh, I must have been drunk. I don't know. It's just, it's outside of their reality, right? And so that's an extreme example of too much value but no comfort. But the next reason why you get flakes is too much value, no comfort. Meaning that you spiked the girl's emotional like buying temperature, you spiked her up, got her all turned on, got her all aroused by you, but she never actually got to know you or experience you as a man. And so after you get that phone number, she remembers like being attracted to you a little bit, but that attraction, what is it? This is a big thing I talk about in Hot Seat, is getting them beyond just the chemicals in their body. Is that attraction is just chemicals in their body. As soon as those chemicals go away, the attraction's gone. They're no longer in that headspace. So what you need to do is get them to like rationalize or identify that headspace outside of the chemicals, right? You need to get some kind of actual connection or actual reason in her head why you're a good guy, or reason why she liked you. But if you don't get that, if you just get her chemically aroused, as soon as the chemicals go away, it's over. It's the same as like a girl that's like extremely drunk and like very turned on by you when she's like extremely, extremely drunk, and then she just sobers up the next day. Remember she was drunk. She's like, I don't fucking know. I don't even hardly remember. Psychologically, she might literally not even remember. Like they've done psychological studies where they say that if you study like for a test, like on drugs, you might actually take the test better on drugs than sober, right? Because you're in that same headspace that you studied, right? So she literally might even not literally remember you. So that's a possibility too. So that's the thing, is that you're outside of her reality. You failed on the believability thing. On the CUBB, you were unbelievable, right? For whatever reason. And it can almost be like you were too unbelievably good and that threw her off, right? Here's something that'll really fuck with you. There's such a thing as too much value in game. That's actually a lie. There is no such thing as too much value in game. However, there is such a thing as too much value in game in a particular scenario or without any comfort to go along with it, okay? So, for example, there are certain girls, like for example, we all have the stereotype rock stars get laid. Pretty fair. Most like good famous rock stars probably have their fair share of sex, right? However, a girl with low self-esteem might not fuck a rock star, right? Even though she finds him attractive, even though maybe she even has his poster on her wall, because she won't believe that, she won't believe that it's real. She won't believe she can actually deserve him or get him. And so theoretically, he probably could sleep with her, but it would take him a really, really long time to build value and convince her that there's something genuine between the two of them. Because it's so unbelievable and outside of her reality, it doesn't make sense. She can't conceive of it. Whereas, like some average guy from her class maybe could sleep with her more easily than the rock star, because he's still higher value than higher value than her, still plenty of value to get her, but the ratio of his value and comfort isn't so shocking, isn't so scary for her, right? So that's the case. That's the next thing that'll happen for a lot of guys, especially when you get into pickup. If you learn how to push a girl's buttons, pushing girls' buttons is fun, man. Shit's fun, right? You learn that you can be like, you and I won't get along, girls, ha, 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 I love you, right? That's amazing, right? Or you learn that you can be like, in the middle of a normal conversation, out of nothing, be like, you know what? I just have to tell you, I don't want to make the sex tonight, okay? Like, I think you're cool and everything, but just like, no sex. I hope you're okay with that, right? And you just see the girl's face go like, oh, what the fuck? Right? And you see her giggle. That's addictive. That's very, very, very addictive. It's fun to do that. It's fun to push those buttons, right? Especially, you guys know push-pull. How many people here know what push-pull is? Fuck, there are people in this room who don't know what push-pull is? All right. This is like one of the most important things in like all of pickup. Push-pull. You give a positive and then you give a negative. Positive, negative, or negative, positive. Right? So for example, we'll be like, you know what? I fucking love that shirt, but you really don't pull it off, bro. Right? Or I'd be like, you know what? I fucking hate that team, but I support the fact that you like stick with your guns. Right? You know what I mean? It's negative, positive, positive, negative, that sort of thing. What you can do if you want to go have fun tonight, if you want to go try something like interesting tonight, try and just stack as many push-pulls one after the other as you possibly can. All right? You know what I love about you? Absolutely nothing. No, there actually is this one thing that you do. It's fucking weird, and I actually hate it, but I love that I hate it, because you know what? People are so nice to me, and I get the feeling you're a total bitch. And actually, I actually don't even mean bitch. What I mean is like you're a very secure, strong person. And that probably means you have a stick up your ass, right? I just like start like stacking these things one after another like that, and see what kind of reaction you get. What you will get is a girl who's what we call her circuits have been fried, right? Like she just can't quite handle it. But if you do that, you'll get girls very attracted to you. And if you do that, go stack these push pull, and then ask a girl for a number. She'll give you a number. Or oftentimes she'll give you a number. I can't guarantee every time, but she'll give you a number oftentimes. However, that number is also highly likely to be flaky, because it is in the realm of the unbelievable. Okay, does that make sense? So that's the next one, is if you are somehow unbelievable. Third reason that a lot of numbers will flake is you got too close. We'll call this, I'm just going to make up a term, we'll call this the Icarus effect. You flew too close to the sun. All right? What happens here, in every seduction that goes relatively well, goes pretty close to sex, there's what I call the point of no return. Okay, now the point of no return, it's kind of hard to define, but for me, it's the point where up to that moment, if you were to end it and be like, oh, this is a fun night, let's hang out some other time, let's exchange numbers, there's a legitimate chance that that number could result in, you hanging out with her. Once you cross that point of no return, if you don't then have sex with her, you almost certainly are not going to see her again. Okay? That's what I call the point of no return. And especially if you get past that point of no return and you're in any way pushy. Okay? So for a lot of girls, maybe you're like, you get her home, you're on the couch, you're making out with her, and then you go for it. You go try and finger her, right? And then if she resists on that, all of a sudden now maybe you've crossed the point of no return. Especially if you try it and she push it away, and then you maybe shove her hand away and really try, and then she says no and runs out, right? First of all, that's not a strategy I recommend, by the way, the pushing her hand away strategy. I'm just saying guys have done it, right? But if that scenario went down, she might not feel super comfortable hanging out with you the next time. Right? Because she resisted and you pushed through resistance and it was a little too close. So there's two things going on. One, she knows she's attracted to you, but she also knows you made her really uncomfortable. Right? And so she's worried. She's worried about a couple things. One, she's worried that she's going to have sex with you next time. Because in her mind, after she left, she had to justify to herself, why is it I didn't sleep with this guy? And she'll come up with all the reasons why not. Her brain will come up with all the reasons. And then she's like, fuck, those are all those good reasons for not sleeping with him. I hope I don't sleep with him next time. Right? So that's number one. But number two is she's worried that because you got so close, because you almost slept with her the first time, that you're going to expect something the next time, that you're going to expect to sleep with her. You're going to walk over and you're going to pick it up right back where you left off. Right? And that's not how girls like to have sex. Girls don't like to have sex as just, oh, hi, I'm here, let's have sex. Right? Now maybe if you've been texting with them and sending nude photos and there's days of sort of verbal foreplay and anticipation, maybe then you walk them in the door, throw them against the wall, choke them and have sex with them. Right? That can happen. But most of the time on a date with a girl you haven't had sex with, who, is kind of hard to get out on the date in the first place, she doesn't want you to be thinking, this is for sex, it better go down. She would like to experience you and get to know you and see how things play out. And that doesn't mean she doesn't want to have sex with you. Okay? Girls want to have sex. Girls like sex and probably enjoy sex when it's good more than guys do. But she wants to have an experience and lead to the sex. She just doesn't want to be a foregone conclusion where she's like, I'm here, let's fuck. Right? Great example of this is I have my bisexual girlfriend that we do threesomes with. A funny thing happens if I ever pick up a girl all the way and get the girl totally down and then introduce my girlfriend at the end, almost without fail, my girlfriend hates the girl. Almost without fail, right? Whereas, a lot of the times, even if my girlfriend's a little lukewarm or neutral on the girl at the start, if she's a part of the pickup, if she's a part of the interaction and the process of meeting the girl and getting to know her and we experience her together, a lot of times my girlfriend's super down and really likes the girl and gets excited about it, right? Because she doesn't just want the sex. She doesn't just want, here's a stranger, you're like, baby, here's a stranger for you to fuck, right? That's a little abrupt. She wants to actually have that experience, right? Same kind of thing with you as a guy. She wants to have that experience. So if she feels like it's too much of a foregone conclusion, she feels like you're going to show up and be sexually demanding, that can be very nervous for her, and she won't necessarily want to see you again there. So those are some of the most common reasons for flakiness. The other really common reason for flakiness, sadly, is girls just busy. Okay? Girls just extremely, extremely busy. Right? And this happens especially with very hot girls and especially with very popular hot girls, right? Which is they do want to see you. They would love to see you. But they would also love to go hang out on a yacht with Richard Branson. Or they would love to go to backstage at some rock concert. Or they would love to go hang out with the fucking local professional football team. Or they would love to hang out with their friends who they've known since they were 2. There's a lot of other things they'd love to do also. Doesn't mean they wouldn't love to see you. Doesn't mean they don't like you and think you're even worthy of having sex with them. It just means there's a lot of other shit on their mind too, and you weren't so amazing that it stood out. Okay? So that brings me to an interesting philosophy as well. This is also going back to something I kind of already knew intuitively, but I like the phrasing. Something I learned from Derek this last weekend was this. He said, I don't care if I talk to 20 girls, I don't care if 19 out of the 20 reject me. As long as number 20 thinks I'm the fucking second coming, right? Number 20 thinks I fucking walk on water and part the seas, right? As long as that's the case, I don't care about the other 19, right? And he would rather have that. He would rather have 19 reject him and hate him and 1 think he is the best man on the planet, instead of have half of them think he's like really good and like half of them maybe just marginally think he's like kind of good, right? You can even have a positive reaction from every single one and even have like a pretty damn good reaction from a lot of them. He doesn't even want that. What he wants is the girl that thinks he walks on water, right? He's willing to be that polarizing. And it's kind of true, because look, how many sets could you do in a night? You could do 20 sets in a night, right? If you're looking for a truly, truly, truly great girlfriend who like has the right type of relationship with you and really like resonates with your personality, even if you're getting like 1 in 20, even like friggin' 1 in 100, within a couple weeks, you're getting a fucking amazing new girl at the absolute outside. And if you have any kind of game, you're getting a better ratio than that, right? So it's not like there's this like lack of abundance. It's not like you need to get every single one. You're gonna get that one. But the question is, when you get that one, would you rather get that one that's kind of lukewarm, a little bit into you, and you have lots more work to do, and she's gonna give you a lot of bullshit in the relationship, and she's gonna fight you on every point, and not give you your way, and maybe cheat on you, or maybe like another guy equally as much as you? Or would you rather get all the bullshit out of that way, like that first hour, and have her so fucking deeply in love with you that the rest of the relationship is an amazing breeze, right? That's actually a better, more effective use of your time, if that's what you're going for, right? And that's his premise, which is, I don't care if 19 out of 20 reject me, but I want number 20 to think I walk on water, right? And it's a good way to look at it. And the funny thing is, when you do go in with that approach, of I'm gonna be me to the maximum, I'm gonna be me on steroids and fuck the rest, instead of 19 hating you and 1 loving you, the vast majority will actually really, really like you. Because they'll respect the fact that you are being genuinely you. They'll respect the fact that what's coming through is not an agenda. It's not you trying to manipulate and get something from them. It's you actually legitimately screening them. It's you actually legitimately trying to find out if they are the right type of girl for you. And it's not because you learned some pickup routine that said like, are you adventurous? Do you cook? It's like you actually are screening them because you really want the right kind of girl for you, right? And it comes through so much better. Cool. Are there any questions that I kind of like completely missed out of those? Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say, you're saying like the worst case scenario, like I know you talked about in one of your videos, like pretty much the best way to eliminate flaking is like to run a better set.
Mm-hmm.
Say you're in a bench, you only have like 1 minute, you gotta go, you run a shitty set. It's kind of happened to me actually. I was a chiropractor, and I got her number, and well, I just can't get her out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what would be the best way to go about that?
2 ways. 1, get better text game. 2, get a more exciting life. Right? Funny enough, a lot of guys that I know that don't get a lot of flakes, it's not because their game is better or because their texting is better. It's because the shit they invite girls to is better. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. If you're a girl and you have 2 offers from guys that you met at a club that you vaguely remember, and one is, let's grab a coffee, and the other is, let's go to the Oscars. Which one are you going to take?
I go to the coffee.
You go to the coffee? Nice limiting beliefs, bro. Anyway, the point is, if it's a cooler thing, you're probably going to go with it, right? You're probably going to go with the cooler thing. So if it is, you know what I mean, or for example, even just a softer version would be, you get invited out by 2 different guys to 2 different clubs on a particular night. One is like the shitty dive bar that you could go to anytime, and the other is like some super posh club that you actually need a reservation to go to. Like the type of club that like even as a hot girl, you need to be on the guest list, right? And there are a few clubs like that, not that many, but there are a few clubs like that, right? In that case, which are you gonna be more intrigued by, right?
What do you think I should do like from this point? Like, what would be
Okay, so good text game, basically, I hate doing the exact like breakdown because I've done it so many times, but like the good text game essentially is knowing where you stand with the girl, knowing where she's at in terms of like her closeness to meeting up with you, okay? So the quick and dirty version is there's 4 texts you can get, which is silence, lack of text, shit test, giving you bullshit, logical, like just exchanging information, asking questions. And then the fourth is like complimenting or even helping you make plans, right? And so depending on where you're at in that spectrum, your communication needs to change, okay? When you are at the point in the spectrum where they're barely responding to you or their response is negative, you cannot ask for much, right? You can't ask for much. If you're an employee at a company and you fucked up a lot and you owe a bunch of money to the company, you can't go to the boss and ask him for a raise. It's not gonna happen, you get fired, right? If on the other hand, you're an employee of the same company, you've been a stellar employee from day one, you created like some kind of like patent that is like the key business line for the entire company, and you're the only person, like every other people kind of understand it or whatever, but you're the only person at a high level who can really work with that patent and really like expand it, then can you go to the boss and ask for a raise? Fuck yes, you can, right? So on the one hand, you have no capital to work with, right? On the other hand, you have tons of capital to work with, right? And so what we're talking in texting is not like literal financial capital or opportunity capital, we're talking social capital. Okay, and so that's what we're looking at is how much do you have. If she's not responding to you, you have very little. If she's responding negatively, you have a little bit more. Responding neutral, more yet, and responding positively, even more. And so you can ask for more from her, the more you have. Okay? On the flip side, the less you have, the more you need to offer value, the more you need to be fun and funny and interesting and actually give a little bit of energy to the interaction.